Got it. Got to hit the button.
Mm-hmm.
We are live now, right?
We are.
All right. Well, welcome to the BDSM podcast, the Boozers, Smoke&Meats, and I am Professor Forkloin, and I'm here with my awesome co-host.
The Meat Viking.
And we've kind of had a little bit of a hiatus because of vacations and other things going down. So hopefully we can get back onto the swing of things for all our listeners out there.
Mm-hmm.
But we are continuing our journey around the country, and we are back on the East Coast, man. And we're gonna do New York.
State
So I
we've
think,
actually both stepped foot in.
yeah, I have been to New York numerous times because I grew up pretty fairly close there. So, but yeah, man, New York State versus the boroughs, I guess, the city. So I feel like depending on how we go about it, it could be a longer episode. It could be split into two. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there might be some things to talk about since both of us has been in there.
Yep.
But before we move on, for our listeners, are you drinking anything today?
Blueberry Maple Stout from Sagatuck Brewing Company.
Well, that sounds freaking delicious, man.
It is. It is exactly what I needed from a post-nap. A little post-nap beer.
A blueberry maple stout. I'm guessing you get a lot of blueberry in the front and then the stout in the back, or like how does that taste?
For me, I get more of the stout up front because that's what I'm more accustomed to. Then I get like the faint blueberry in the back. Because, blueberry is not like banana. You put one banana in any kind of shake and you're still going to taste banana. You throw blueberry in something and you may or may not get the blueberry taste.
Yeah, blueberry is such a hard fruit to work with. Even from my experiences with brewing, like it's such a difficult thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because the blueberry taste from the juice that you get or from, having so much blueberry in your recipe is way different than the blueberry you would get from, like, say, your stout, because a lot of times it's artificial.
Yep.
For you to get that blueberry flavoring all the way through to be like pow, here's blueberry, you need a shit ton of blueberries. So
Yeah.
but yeah, man, a blueberry stout sounds freaking delicious. I wonder if I can find something similar.
I recently found this brewing company and I stumbled across it by way of a peanut butter porter firsthand. And then the second time I stumbled across it, it was by way of a variety pack of canned beers. And I'm not looking back.
That's awesome. Well, I have some Yingling in my hand right now, just because I have a case that I need to get rid of. So, and I can't go wrong with it anyway. And I think once when we hit Pennsylvania, I'm gonna enjoy a few of those on this podcast. So just as a traditional nod, and I feel like I might have to get Rolling Rock too. Shitty beer, but it's part of the thing.
Rolling Rock.
My uncle, we'll get into that when we get to Pennsylvania, but my uncle used to drink the fuck out of Rolling Rock.
Yeah, dude, you can drink the fuck out of anything if it's less than 3% alcohol.
So, well, since we are in New York today, the safe word is going to be the Mets, because I feel like they're such a disappointment to the baseball team anyway that Mets,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much its own little safe word to begin with, right?
Yeah. As somebody who lives from Ohio, I understand disappointing sports teams. We have the Browns, and like the Browns had
And,
a good year. We'll see them again in probably like 30 to 40 years. Have another good year.
yeah, but on the flip side, though, your Cincinnati did a really good year too.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe they're getting their shit together. I don't know. I don't follow sports that closely.
Yeah, well, it's not like the Cleveland Indians are doing any better. Or, well, Cleveland Cavaliers, they're not doing too hot since LeBron left. And then Cincy, the Reds haven't done a whole lot. So,
Nope.
yeah, I mean, Ohio's kind of a disappointment with sports.
Yeah, it's also a disappointment if you live here. Just letting everybody know that.
Well, when we get to Ohio, I know we're going to talk a lot about some of that shit because we both lived there. So,
Yeah.
but let's move into New York. So the first thing that I found is going up to Buffalo. And do you know where I might be going with this?
Is it beef on wick?
No, it's actually Buffalo wings. So, I mean, I guess they have, if you want authentic buffalo wings, some guy in the Anchor Bar in the 60s wound up inventing them. And you got to thank him. Oh, excuse me. Oh,
Man,
sorry,
I'm gonna have to
listeners.
work extra hard.
Just fuck it, leave it in. Who cares? But yeah, in the 60s, in the Anchor Bar, some guy apparently created these things. And I think it's, this guy has never looked back because no matter where you go, if there is sports involved or a restaurant or anything, you will find on the menu buffalo wings or wings in general.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that it's obviously created in Buffalo, New York. Now, Buffalo, New York is fucking cold because it gets all that lake effect from Lake Erie. So they get just dumped on with a bunch of snow.
Yep.
So I would definitely need some hot ass wings in order to warm myself up.
Oh yeah, and I've had as close to buffalo style buffalo wings as I have a stepdad who was from Buffalo, and they are so good, so tasty.
So with all of the different flavors, I feel like I have to ask you, how do you get your wings?
Are you talking like sauce style or?
Yeah, let's start with sauce. Let's
Okay.
see how would you get your wings?
So depending on where I'm going, I'm always gonna look for a Cajun dry rub first. Something I like. It's got a nice smoky, nice peppery, and it's also usually tends to be on the hotter end, but not unbearably hot. So that right there is going to be my first go, right? And then,
Okay.
like, if I'm ordering, say, 10 wings, I'll get 5 Cajun, and then I'll go 5, and I'll go a little bit hotter with this, with like a Caribbean jerk with, like that really wet sauce. And it brings out all those nice spices. So that's how I like my wings.
Have you messed with any of those like mango habanero or like devil sauces?
No, no. Dude, there is no need to have to wipe your ass with a snowball after you're done eating a meal. Okay.
I have to agree. I feel like there's a certain point in the Scoville hot scale to where it just isn't pleasurable anymore, where it's not fun to put that in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You watch that dude like Man versus Food and like all these other wing challenges and shit where you have to eat like 4 wings, but you can't have milk, you can't have anything, and it's like off the charts with the Scoville units, and I would just be like, what's the fucking point?
Yep. Now I will say on the topic of Scoville units and stuff like that, if you guys have ever seen an episode of Hot Ones, like that's actually a really interesting where they go through all the different hot sauces and you can see it progressively get from enjoyable to this is no longer fun anymore.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen a few of those, and it's really funny when they get to the last one. They're usually just like,
yep. Well,
and again, I just don't find that enjoyable.
no.
And then what if you fuck up, if you rub your eyes or you get it anywhere else, dude, that's gonna burn for a long ass time.
Yep.
And you've heard the stories of the people like eating the wings and then they don't wash their hands well enough, and then they go to the bathroom and touch their wiener, and
Yep.
then their wiener's on fire. Like, I don't want to do that. My asshole's already going to be on fire from those wings. Like, I don't want to have my wiener on fire either.
No. Keep the fire in the heart and in the body, not on the pee-pee.
Well, then you get the other ones where the dudes don't wash their fingers after like cutting peppers and shit, and then they play around with their wives, and then their wives' vaginas get all like, fire crotch.
Yep.
Yeah, no, don't need to do any of that stuff.
Practice good hygiene when you work with spicy food. Practice good hygiene anyways, but extra be careful. It is like you could actually, I believe, lose an eye from getting like too spicy of stuff in there.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So,
see, for myself with my wings, I usually go to like a medium heat, to where something like a creamy sriracha, where sriracha has a little bit of some pepper to it, but not that bad, or something where it's like a garlic buffalo sauce. Those are usually where I'm looking at. And then if I get like, let's say 10 wings like you did, or even a dozen wings and split them up, I would do like half would be the creamy sriracha or the buffalo sauce. And then the other half would usually be like a garlic or lemon pepper, or like a honey something a lot lighter. Just because sometimes I like to mix, and I'll have a hot and then a nice light one, so I'm not just completely burning my mouth the whole day.
So experience may vary on this, but believe it or not, I've actually had some bomb lemon pepper wings from Little Caesars.
That's kind of surprising, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I was surprised too.
Last time I got Little Caesars wings, I mean, it was just because I wanted wings, and I mean, I got duped into getting a combo anyway, so it was all right. It just wasn't something I'd be like, oh yeah, man, you got to get freaking wings from Little Caesars.
Right. Like I said, I probably like struck rich. They might have had a cook that just moved up from Atlanta to Ohio, and he like brought the secrets with him. But yeah, it was on point.
Okay.
So, now I do have a question for all of our people listening in the audience. If you're getting wings, how are you getting them? And then we didn't go over boneless or bone in. Now for me, I don't care either way. I love me some chicken wings.
Oh, come on, man. Without the bones, it's just chicken tenders.
That's true. But
like, it's just chicken tender, smaller chicken tenders is what it is.
Yeah. But when you have a beard like I do, sometimes it's okay for smaller chicken tenders.
Oh yeah, man. I'm sure that if you freaking had the bone in,
yeah,
I guarantee like that shit would be all over your beard and mustache anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a flavor saver, man. You're just saving it for later.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. It's pretty cool for wings. Like, awesome for Buffalo to be there. But there's another upstate New York one that I feel like is probably one of the best hangover foods that you can have. And it kind of sounds funnier than what it really is, but it's called a garbage plate.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's more appetizing than what it sounds, right? So a garbage plate typically is basically either macaroni salad or baked beans, and then they throw in fried potatoes and then some sort of meat. So it could be hamburger, could be hot dogs, could be chili, like that's up to you. And it's basically just throw right on the plate. And that's a big ass plate too, so it's not like you're getting skimped out on anything. And I feel like it's a good way to get rid of your hangover the next day, because it's got the greasiness of the meat, it's got the carbs from the potatoes. So if you can get anything in New York for that one, the garbage plate has got to be the way to go.
That does sound tasty.
Well, I mean, we've had our own little remedies for hangovers over the years.
Yep.
So, but I can easily see this being something just having on a cool night, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Would you go with the macaroni salad? Because I think I'd rather have baked beans, to be honest with you.
Probably the baked beans.
Yeah, macaroni salad is one of those fickle bitches. Like some
Yeah.
people put Miracle Whip and shit in it, and stuff that's not really should be in a macaroni salad. And
Yeah.
you just never know what you're gonna get, right?
Yeah, the meat market I go to, and I know you've had this before because I used to bring it at cookouts that we did, but they've got really good macaroni salad. And then I've gone to like other places and it's been not so good macaroni salad. So, but
But
I actually got a food for this next one.
okay,
So we're gonna go back to Buffalo, and remember how I mentioned beef on weck?
yeah.
So after chicken wings, the beef on weck is the most popular food in Buffalo. So it is three parts. It's meat, bread, horseradish. Sandwich is named after the Cummelweck roll for short, which is also known as weck. Should be sprinkled with a hefty side of caraway seeds and coarse salt so the beef inside is left as unseasoned as possible. It's succulent, thinly sliced, and slightly pink in the middle, while horseradish should be freshly grated for the best possible experience. Beef on weck has been served in almost every bar and tavern in Buffalo, and the story starts back from 1901 when a man named John, John, turned his house into a hotel and tavern and decided that a roast beef sandwich would be great for satisfying the appetite of the hungry tenants. So Joe's baker was a German who suggested they added caraway seeds and salt on top of the rolls, just like they did back in Germany, and it ended up becoming a success due to the caraway seeds and salt. So
I feel like that is. I feel like that's kind of like a an au jus sandwich without some of the extra stuff, you know?
yeah, I've had it before, and it's really good.
Yeah. So I've never had one of those. So explain what's so good about it.
It's just like the way they do the meat. It's you've had Arby's before, I'm assuming, right?
I mean, I think everybody's probably had
Yeah.
Arby's at
Okay.
least once in their life.
Right. So that, but way better, and it's just like a satisfying. I want me a salty sandwich, and I want me a pint of beer. So,
Okay.
and let me see if I can find a picture of it here. Yeah. So this one is one you can see they actually got the horseradish inside the meat. So I'm going to do a quick screen share.
My dog just woke herself up.
I got a cat knocking on the door, begging to get in.
Well, my dog was dreaming. She basically just dreamed herself awake.
Dude, that'll
Oh
happen.
yeah, look at that.
Yeah. And like, I know this doesn't look like much, but this is definitely something you want to try if it's ever available to you, just to say you've tried it.
Okay, it's one of those.
Yeah. So, and funny enough, because it's so used to being a Buffalo only thing that when we were in Texas, we found a bar that was serving it, and like 13 people went with this group that were mostly from Buffalo, and they were all extremely happy with this sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like getting a taste of home, I guess, if you're from Buffalo and being able to find it somewhere else. So,
Well, I know some other things that we've kind of talked about before. You know how we talked about the beef sticks and the hots, the red hots.
yep.
Well, if you look at Rochester, they've got a huge German community. So, I guess we'll eventually talk about New York City and some of those, and probably part two of this. So there's hot dog stands all over the place, and you can get yourself a nice ballpark. You got that nice little color. But if you go out towards Rochester, the western side of New York, you're not going to see too many of those. And what you're really going to see is you're going to see these things called white hots. So they originated out there in the 20s because there was such a huge German community, and they were originally known as a white and porky. So it's basically the cheaper alternative to the red hot dogs, and it's made from less desirable meat parts and various fillers. But you can't go to any type of bar, or you can't go to any cookout without finding any of these things. So a lot of times you'll see them to where it's kind of like that, more of the iconic sausage taste for the white hots, and a lot of times it's uniquely colored because they cook the crap out of it. And I guess there's a place called Snappy Griller which created this towards that late end of the 20s, early 30s.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I remember having some stuff similar to this. I don't remember ever calling it a white hot, or even calling it the snappy. But man, you put some peppers on that thing, and kind of even moving into that Pennsylvania Dutch stuff, you put some coleslaw or sauerkraut, and you got yourself a good meal.
Hard to beat that.
So yeah, so it's a super popular thing up towards that western side. And I don't know, you know what, you're a lot closer to that western side. One of these days you just take that trip all the way out. It'd probably take you a couple hours to get there, and then grab yourself some white hots.
I mean, I'm not the world's biggest hot dog fan, but I'll do anything once.
$20 is $20, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so not a bad taste, I think. I think there's a pretty good theme going on right now at some of this bar food slash, you know, cheaper food.
Mm-hmm. So I think I got one more that I'd like to talk about, sorry. And it fits both in bar and cheap food. And that
Okay.
is dollar slice pizza.
Ooh, I feel like you can find that just about everywhere.
Right. But like my experience through New York was I sat down at a restaurant, and then I kept going. So this is new to me. Um, it's known as the best cheap meal in the city, and for a dollar piece of pizza, it's kind of hard to beat. So, have you ever had dollar pizza?
Oh hell yeah, man! And get that nice Brooklyn style pizza where you can fold it over.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing I like about going to any pizzeria, and we might have mentioned a little bit in the New Jersey episode, but you go to any of those pizza shops and you can order it by the slice. They throw it right into the oven for you, let it cook up, and then boom, you got yourself a walking meal essentially.
Nice. I've seen like adverts where I live for like 2 slices of pizza and a beverage, but it's always been like $6. And I'm like, dude, I might as well spend the other half of the $6 and get 8 more pieces of pizza. So a
Yeah,
slice
but
of pizza for $1 doesn't sound too bad.
that's the cool thing about it too, is that when you're going around, even in the city or somewhere else, and you don't want to be carrying around, a whole box full of slices there. So it's kind of cool to just have a slice or two with a Coke for, like 3.50 or something, or $4.
Mm-hmm.
And the slices are actually pretty big. They're not like small pieces. So it's really worth your money. And I just feel like there's a time and a place for you to be like, all right, I'm going to get a whole pie. I can spend the $10 or $12 for it. I can have leftovers versus, all right, I'm going to go out to grab a couple slices for lunch and then, get back to work or do whatever you need to do. So I think having that is that option and saying, yeah, I'm only going to have a couple slices and being able to do that and say, yeah, give me this white pizza here. Give me pepperoni over here. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds good.
So
Sounds nice, big and tasty.
yeah. And again, the cheese all melty. It's from all those Italian dudes, like second generation, third generation Italians. You get the
Mm-hmm.
fat guy sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
He's got the apron on like he's taking a break. He's just been making dough all day.
Well, he's giving drug money and protection money to the mafioso on his smoke breaks out back.
Yeah. I always remembered, um, they'd have the old school cash register. And before really credit cards became a big thing, and I'm not dating myself on all this, but before like online payments, you'd always have cash. So it'd always be like, oh, here you go, here's $5. And then, they clink open that big ass register
Mm-hmm.
and count the money. So it's it just brings back some memories.
I wish they brought back that big register sound clink because as somebody who's worked on a big register before, that's a very satisfying sound that due to the age of credit cards and cash you just don't get anymore. And like in the era of credit cards, there used to be a sound for when your card got declined, right? And now they swapped it to where that's the same sound when your card gets accepted. So you don't know if you got money or not. You're just hoping and praying that that machine says good, you know?
Yeah. Well, even before, I'll do you one better than even before that, they used to just freaking not scan your credit card. It would basically do it on like a carbon copy piece of paper,
Yeah,
and
I've
you'd
seen
you'd
that.
hear the you'd hear that whole entire movement, and then that noise as it scanned, basically imprinted your credit card onto the paper.
Yeah.
And I think the funny thing about that is that like now everything with the internet, you can check online immediately because it automatically happens. But back then, they used to send that shit in, so it would take like a month before it'd show up, and then you'd get your statement. So you'd be, a little behind, wondering, shit, do I even have any credit card money on this?
Uh, I think I'd only used that machine that you're talking about for like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, because where I had worked at in like my high school years, they they were very adamant about like cash and check only, and then finally they got one and it lasted like a month before the owners were like, "No, we don't like this."
Nice.
So,
That's funny.
mhm.
Well, I know there's another thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is really around the Finger Lakes, which is totally, it's not surprising that it's around the Finger Lakes. And I'm kind of curious because I've never had it before, but it's called the Concord Grape Pie. So it's a dessert, and I feel like it would taste pretty good depending on what grapes you use. But it's essentially a pie made with Concord grapes, and it's usually found in the Finger Lakes, which obviously has a shit ton of wineries, and there's a bunch of grape vines up that way. So it's really one of those things that's kind of like a specialty and a tradition of New York because they have this grape festival in Naples, and it's like, hey, this is our traditional recipe of using the grapes that we've had and making a pie out of it.
I enjoy that very much. I've never had Concord grape pie, but I love me some pie. I'm not against trying it.
Yeah. So they said it tastes kind of like wine. just because of the tannins in the grapes. And I mean,
Mhm.
that's where you get some of your flavors depending on the red grapes that you use. And I mean, again, very German influence. And it's a very long process, which is kind of funny because they skin the grapes and then they cook the pulp, separating out all the seeds. But I feel like that's probably one of the pies that I could get down with. I totally like pumpkin pie. I can eat that all year round if I need. Like Boston cream pie. Like my grandmother used to make some of those, which is delicious. Banana cream pie, those are fine. I'm not too keen on apple. I'll eat it, but it's not my favorite. But I think Concord grape, I think a grape pie would be freaking delicious.
Yeah, I would be down to try it.
So
Yeah, and I'm kind of like you too. I don't think it'll take my top 5 pies, but it might make a top 10.
yeah, I would think so.
So,
But you know what? I'm kind of curious to know how it's made. From what I was seeing, they skin the grapes and they boil it all out and whatnot. But at some point, if you take um, some of the grapes or any fruit, to be honest with you, and you heat it up, you know, there's a point to where it goes from that juice to more of a jelly style or like a
yep.
consistency of that. So I really am curious to know how long they boil those, and uh, if you leave it out, if wild yeast would come in, and if that would actually start to ferment.
I know you said yeast, but for some reason my mind was like, why would wild geese come and eat hot grapes?
Because of all that sugar, man. They
All
gotta
the
they gotta eat so that they can fart that carbon dioxide and throw up alcohol.
yep. It's been a
So
day.
yeah, well, I'm wondering if they serve that with like some type of ice cream, or if there's something else that goes with that, or if it's just right there on the pie.
I think that being a la mode would be really good.
Yeah, get some nice vanilla ice cream right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of the pictures that I've seen, one of them looked like a traditional like apple pie. You know how they crisscross the dough and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That looked pretty cool. But then the other one that I saw looked like it had a crumble on top. So I'm also curious to know if that's kind of like a place by place thing, to where yeah we do the dough on top or we do the crumble, because I think the crumble would make it way better for the a la mode.
I agree with you on that. And apparently, Concord Grape Pie is a Canadian classic, which makes sense because, New York.
Yeah, right on that Canadian border there.
Yep.
Um, but I also read too that it does go a little bit into Ohio and a little bit into Michigan as well. It's kind of gone west with some of that because of that Canadian influence.
Mhm.
When you're not so far with the Great Lakes getting in between you, some things start to kind of travel.
Yeah.
So that doesn't surprise me that other places in the country kind of enjoy that as well.
I haven't had a grape pie. However, I don't mind the looks of it. I would try it. I'd go for it.
Yeah, why not, man?
I wonder if it almost tastes like a blackberry pie because it looks like it has that texture.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know I've got a couple other things I just want to talk about, and again, these are more of the New York State side.
right.
Um, and
Well,
the first,
I don't mean to be rude. We are hitting about like the 45-minute mark on recording.
yeah, we can do these last two, and then we can come back into episode two.
Right, because it just gets funky after a certain time frame. That's all.
Yeah. Um, well, this first one I know is a big staple, and it's called the chicken riggies.
What?
So yeah, it sounds funky. The chicken riggies, Riggies, and it's rigatoni pasta.
Okay.
So it's a big dish in the upstate New York area. My aunt lived in Binghamton, so it's a little bit south of New York, but still, I mean, we've been up to Albany and whatnot before, and many restaurants claim to inventing it, and it's essentially the same thing or the same key elements where you have rigatoni, you have chicken, you have hot and sweet peppers, and then a tomato cream sauce.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's dope, man. It's actually pretty good. So the rigatoni, I mean, those are the thicker ones,
Mm-hmm.
and the cream sauce is delicious. Um, and it's one of those Italian influences, and obviously in the city there's a lot of that, and um, growing up with some of that Italian influence myself, it really does hit home for you to be like, oh man, here's this. Let's get some chicken riggies, you know.
I'm almost disappointed I've never had the opportunity to have a chicken riggy.
Well, man, you could always just find a recipe for it. It's super easy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can find all the stuff you need at the grocery store.
Most likely.
But the thing is though, it's like, do you want to cook it?
Right.
Or do you want to pay someone the $15 with the salad to make it for you?
Right. Now, as somebody who I know loves chicken parm, where does chicken riggy's place? Is it like on
Oh man,
par, just above, just below?
it'd have to be a little bit below.
Okay.
Like a chicken parm just has all the cheese and it's got the tomato sauce and everything on it. There's a lot more cheese, a lot more stuff going on
Mm-hmm.
because you can get chicken parm without pasta if you want. There's plenty of places that do that.
Yup.
Whereas this, I mean, it's kind of like a mixture. It's just like a regular pasta dish almost.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So, but this last one I kind of want to talk about too. It's another dessert, and it's called sponge candy.
What?
So, yeah, sponge candy. Now I've never had this, but this goes back to Buffalo, and it consists of the wing there as the main entree, but the candy is gonna be your dessert. And it's this crunchy outside, so it's got chocolatey outside and it's sugar on the inside. Um, so the main ingredients for this is typically brown sugar, corn syrup, baking soda. You mix all that bad boy together, so it's kind of like a little um, man. The closest I can get to, and I know we'll talk about it when we get to Ohio, is going to be a Buckeye. You know how
Okay.
like when you make the
Yep.
Buckeyes, you make it up into circles, but instead of dipping it all, instead of not dipping it all the way because you still have the little top end of it, this one you're basically putting it the kind of squares, and then you dip the whole thing in chocolate.
Neat.
So that seems like it would be very on par to what those Buckeyes are, but not the peanut butter flavor.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, you're gonna get the brown sugar flavor more.
I do love me some brown sugar. I do.
So, but I know that when we get to Ohio, we'll definitely talk about the Buckeyes for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, well, we're probably at that time mark, and I feel like there's a lot of other things that we could talk about in the city as a part two. So, I think the listeners should wait up until episode 2 of New York. You can kind of dive deeper into some of those other foods.
Right, because like we didn't even touch pastrami.
Exactly, but I feel like that goes to any of those delis because I mean, bagels is another thing.
Yep.
You kind of touch on pizza, but I mean, there's tons of other Italian foods. There's Chinese food that's there. So I think we'll have enough to talk about for the next episode.
Sounds good to me. Well, enjoy everybody. Let us know, how do you prefer your wings down in the comment section below. Uh I've been your host, the Meat Viking, followed with my wonderful co-host,
Professor Porkloin.
and we'll see you all in the next one.
Yes, sir.